Hey everyone, I wanted to go over some new and interesting news that we got for Monster Hunter Rise on the PC. That's set to launch on January 12th, and that's the fact that the Steam page recently got a little bit of an article going over some details regarding the demo release. Remember that we got the information that there would be a demo, but it was a little bit murky as to what to necessarily expect. And now we know confirmation through specifically their little article that it will be dropping on October 13th. And with that comes another little set of information, and that's pretty much confirming what Capcom pretty much has said in Tokyo Game Show regarding their plans of future game releases, mostly being aimed towards the PC audience. And I wanted to go over that into full detail as best as possible. So I'll read up from the article first and then we'll go over the details. It says Capcom has been investing heavily in PC gaming in recent years. The strategy must be yielding excellent results as the publisher wants PC to become the main hardware platform for its games within the next few years. The strategy was revealed by Capcom's COO on the opening day of Tokyo Game Show. These are not so far-reaching plans. The company does believe that in 2022 to 2023, half of its games will be sold on the PC. Capcom's increased investments in the PC games has been evident in many years. There's still some titles that released on the PC well behind the console editions. For example, Monster Hunter World and the upcoming Monster Hunter Rise. But these are increasingly the exception to the rule. Currently, most of the publishers' titles debut on PC the same time as they do on hardware platforms. A few months ago, the company reported an excellent set of results on the PC and assured that it was going to do its best to release new games simultaneously on PC and on consoles. Finally, it's worth mentioning that during Tokyo Game Show 2021, Capcom also revealed that the PC version of Monster Hunter Rise will be releasing on January 12th and the demo will be releasing on October 13th this year. In turn, the release of Sunbreak's expansion is scheduled for next summer, which will release simultaneously on PC and Nintendo Switch. So I think the news regarding this PC shift from Capcom has garnered a little bit of reporting, but I'm not necessarily just how much. And also the fact that we now know specifically that on October 13th, there will be that demo dropping on Steam. And I guess a lot of the questions were, what is going to be part of this demo? And pretty much from all the information that I've gathered and something that I reported a couple of days ago when I was over the graphical details that we actually went over specifically for the PC build that we're going to be seeing in that demo, it's pretty much just going to be the same demo that we got on the Nintendo Switch. You're fighting a Great Isuchi, you're fighting a Mitsuzune, and you're fighting a Magnamalo. That's it. So you have three separate quests, an easy, a normal, and technically a hard with a Magnamalo. But that's going to be pretty much the fight itself. You're going to have access to all the 14 weapons, typically as you would have been expected. Pre-built armor sets, so you don't necessarily need to mix and match. You just pretty much go with whatever they give you, and it's pretty much that same build that we saw on the Nintendo Switch, but now obviously running at 60 frames per second with the opportunity of basically looking a whole heck of a lot better on the PC. So again, that is going to be available in just a few days on October 13th. I believe that's a Wednesday. As for the timing when that actually drops, if it's anything to go by when the previous demos dropped, remember they dropped late at night, basically late at night here in North America, and I believe even later at night or maybe even in the middle of the night for Europeans. That's basically the morning for Japan. So if they want to sync up those releases at the same time, that's probably the right way to do it, and most likely the reason why they've been doing it like that in the past. So if they're going to release it, expect it to drop at some point Wednesday night. But regarding the actual discussion as to why Capcom is targeting PC, I think the article pretty much does a pretty good job explaining that on its own. The fact of the matter is that PC has kind of just been dominating sales at this point for certain franchises, and while consoles are popular, you still can't get a PlayStation 5 or a Series X in stores. You know, it's one of those things that, like, as they go up in stores and digital stores, that is, they sell out instantly. It's still just one of those things that, like, you know, people seem to just be purchasing consoles for kind of just like FOMO at this point. You know, kind of like the OLED a little bit. There's not a real reason to upgrade, but like everybody just kind of wants to have one, and PC just doesn't seem to have that. You know, you want the video card, you want the best video card, but at the end of the day, if you still have like a 2060, a 2070, or even a 1080 or something like that, you can run most of these games at decent frames. So it's not necessarily something that you're going to be missing out on. So at the end of the day, you know, it seems to me like PC gamers have kind of just started to just pick up pace, not necessarily because just more people becoming PC players, it's just, or PC gamers that is, it's just the fact of the matter is that just everyone has a computer, and if there's an ease of access to it, you know, and again, you have a decent video card even from a few years ago, I think it's just good enough to be able to run most of these games, because again, optimization on PC has just kind of become so easy for a lot of these developers and publishers that at the end of the day is becoming like the forefront of pretty much all the platforms. Now, does that actually means eventually consoles will go away? No. There's probably always going to be some Sony console that is just a PC, like the PlayStation 5. That's no real different. Xbox, you know, pretty much is just putting out a PC with their own branding on it. Nintendo are still the only ones trying something different with some sort of hybrid thing or whatever. But even Steam now is doing the Steam Deck. So, you know, it's just like bridging that gap from PC to consoles even more. So it doesn't necessarily surprise me when a publisher sees that and says, hey, I also want to be able to partake in this and be able to, you know, get more sales for my franchises as best as possible. Now, still the only real kicker that we need to wait for is pretty much, is there going to be cross-play, is there going to be cross-saves and stuff like that for the PC build eventually once it launches. I talked about the questionnaire just a couple of days ago as well that you should definitely fill out. I'm going to leave a link in the description below. If you for some reason did not see the questionnaire, definitely fill it out. There's a lot of people requesting for cross-play and cross-saves and even cross-progression as well from the Nintendo Switch and the PC. So hopefully Capcom does listen to the fan base and eventually gets that feature on, so people can definitely play with their friends, not just who are, you know, part of the Nintendo Switch ecosystem, but also you can bring your character over to PC. That's just something that you should just have access to right out of the gate. I'm shocked that they didn't want to offer that pretty much right out of the gate. I don't necessarily understand their reasoning for that, but hopefully it's one of those things that, like, at some point in December, you know, they have another Capcom presentation or something along those lines, and they're like, hey, by the way, we listened to you, and here's the, you know, something that they were planning to do already, but they didn't want to necessarily reveal it all at once. So, you know, because it kind of eventually gets buried in the news. Remember that I've actually been trying to catch up with all of the Tokyo Game Show details that we got in the past couple of weeks, and that's because they just showed off a lot of things. So maybe they just didn't want it to necessarily get buried within all the rest of the information. You know, the fact that it is going to have higher frame rates, higher definition visuals, it is going to have higher textures, it is going to have wide screen display options, you know, it's going to have a whole bunch of things like voice chat. You know, that's something that necessarily, like, the Switch didn't necessarily do or do all that well for that matter. So it's just going to be one of those things that at the end of the day, perhaps it's just a feature that they want to give it their very own place, their very own time, and, you know, showcase it as best as possible. This is me being hopeful, but at the end of the day, it is Capcom and they can do whatever the hell they want. But that's going to be it for this video. Hopefully you guys found it enjoyable. And again, reminder, October 13th, demo drops on Steam. So probably at night. So make sure you tune in for that. I'm definitely going to be covering it as well. If you're brand new to my channel, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. Hit the bell to receive notifications when the videos go up. And as always, thank you so much for watching. See ya.